So as you can see from the screen, I'm Harriet. So as already stated, in 2018, I was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. I was diagnosed in a roundabout way, I suppose. I went to the doctor, my doctor, because I was feeling sick after eating, very stressed out, very burnt out, very fatigued, and I was getting strange bruises everywhere. Initially, we were like, you're a very highly strung person. Perhaps it is just stress and you need to cut back some responsibilities at work, you know, meditate, all of that. But then I showed her some of the bruises on my legs and she went, let's get you a full panel of bloods and I'll refer you to a hematologist. I saw the hematologist maybe 2 weeks after that, and there were some strange things going on with my blood tests. I was anemic, but I had quite high iron, which in my non-medical brain didn't particularly make sense, but apparently was a red flag. We did a bone marrow biopsy, which I must admit, the first time was not very fun, but that showed that my blast cells, well, I haven't had to use that in a while, my blast cells were strangely high. They weren't yet at the point of being leukemia, but they were on their way. And so I got diagnosed initially with myeloid dysplastic syndrome, which for someone my age and as a female and white is very rare. So I was then referred on to a hematologist specialist at the Royal Melbourne, who got me to do another bone marrow biopsy 2.5 weeks later. Within that 2.5 weeks, I'd gone from not quite leukemia to full-on leukemia. I still was feeling pretty okay with myself. But the doctor explained I was probably one of those people who I'd get to a certain point and I'd just drop and then I'd be in hospital. So I was lucky that we caught it early. That's basically that slide. The first picture is me pre-diagnosis. The second picture is me the day I received the news that I had achieved full remission, which was roughly late November 2018. I underwent my treatment in Ward 7B at the Royal Melbourne. All up over 2018, I spent approximately 4 months out of 6 months on that ward. It was not very fun. Over that time, I found out that I am anaphylactic towards IV Stematol, a drug I had taken in tablet form before, but apparently in IV form, it is a no-go. I've never seen so many doctors in a room all at once. I became best friends with the beeping machine that you can see in the middle. I didn't know that could have quite so many attachments either. And I sneakily, cheekily became very adept at muting it and pressing my call button. I also lived predominantly off chocolate milkshakes that my brother would pick up from downstairs and bring to me on his lunch breaks from uni. I was very lucky that he, like I, went to Melbourne Uni as well. Treatment at the Royal Melbourne was far different to being treated at the Peter Mac. The Royal Melbourne, as lovely as Ward 7B is, I don't know if anyone has ever been there, but you're in an isolated, closed-off room, and when you go up into the ward, because our immune systems are basically destroyed and then have to be rebuilt, it's sealed off by a set of double doors. You have to wash your hands, like wipe all your shoes off You can't bring flowers in, you can't bring almost anything in. And this was before COVID. Up here at the Peter Mac for all my outpatient work, I wore a mask, didn't have to wear gloves. I felt like a normal person, which was nice. But it was worlds apart. Being released after my treatment was very weird to me. I went from being monitored 24/7 in the hospital to having a very structured outpatient program, particularly at the beginning, where once I'd been released from my inpatient treatment at the Royal Melbourne, I was in the Peter Mac, either on level 2 or level 3, depending on the day, every day for 2 months, then every second day for a month, then twice a week, for another 2 months. And then following that, it was once a week for another 3. After that, it was almost as if you're all good. You're fine. We'll see you in 6 months. That's like, oh, but my checkpoints, my touch points, my safety net is completely gone now. What am I supposed to do? And it was very weird because while I had my primary hematologist, I'd seen so many other, I call them baby doctors. They're not baby doctors. They're not interns.
Registrar.
Yes, registrars. That you don't particularly form a great relationship with your primary hematologist. You more form it with your registrars, but they're not in charge of your care and they can't answer all your questions because your senior doctor has to. But your senior doctor is very hard to get a hold of and oftentimes doesn't have a number or an email that they actually respond to. So when you're released and you no longer see them, it's like, well, who's checking in on me now? What happens if something goes wrong? And that's what my brother is currently facing at the moment. So I'm very lucky. I have come out of my cancer journey stronger mentally, physically. My metabolism's a bit crap. Like, it's fine. I learned how to advocate for myself at a medical level and even at a professional level. But that's not something my brother has learned. So where I go and find things for him, find things for me, I now have to find things for him as well. So he was diagnosed with colorectal cancer sometime last year, very early. And because he hasn't ever had a main doctor, there's been no one for him to touch base with through the whole thing to make sure that everything that's going on is right. So he went through his radiation, which is thankfully something I never went through because that honestly looked like hell. As bad as the stem cell transplant was, at least I only had to sit in a bed and kind of just sit and cook, basically. But my brother has had to have surgery. He's had a stoma bag put in, and on next Friday, he gets it out. But since finishing his chemotherapy, he's not had any contact point with the oncology team at, or what are they called? The team at Monash, not Monash. The famous actress, Olivia Newton-John. Yeah, the Austin, that's the one. Thank you. So he's struggling to find out what happens next. But I'm trying to help him as much as I can. I haven't realized how long I've been talking, and now I'm looking at my clock and it said 9. So post-treatment, I've been around the world. I spent 9 weeks in Europe. I climbed up to the Path of the Gods. I rode along the aqueduct in Rome. I went to Mount Vesuvius. I revisited the old Mount of Coniston in the Lake District, which the bottom photo is me at 12 when I went with my family. And then the other on the end is me in 2023. Being able to do that was amazing. And I wouldn't have had the ability to do that if I hadn't had my cancer experience. Having the cancer experience, oddly enough, showed me that I could do things on my own. So while it was positive for me, there were lots of things that could be improved. Now this is it's my dog and my cat to distract from me. From a consumer perspective, what could be improved for post-release and even just during the treatment is the communication around plans for the patient, the contact points, and having everything in a consolidated place. I didn't actually realize that the survivorship program that was shown just before was an actual thing. That resource would have been amazing for me. My brother and I, my whole family, we are someone who loves as much information as we can get. And so that website, that resource would have been amazing, but we weren't given that tool to use. So having that sort of thing communicated to us would have been amazing. Another thing, having our GPs or having the ability to give our GPs the summary of what our treatment has been would be fantastic. My GP still doesn't know the whole rundown of what my treatment was. And I'm now 7 years plus out of remission. She's had to rely on my memory, which is pretty crap, for information. And then also the last thing, it's a little bit of a bugbear of mine, follow-up appointment and test scheduling and accessibility. Most of the time, we just get sent a letter saying, here's when your next appointment is, here's when your next test is. And it doesn't matter if it's not actually a good time for us or if we live somewhere far away. It's kind of just like, you have to be there. That's when you have to come in. And it's very hard to reschedule. And it's almost you have to do it or you don't do it at all. So a guilty little secret here. I haven't seen my primary hematologist in 2 years because I cancelled one appointment and then I've completely forgotten to actually try and rebook. And it's just too hard to rebook. So I'm relying on late effects clinic, which he didn't put me into until I had to follow up. So until last year. So having the accessibility and test scheduling done a little bit better would be amazing for us as well.